Thank you all for joining me in my very first video yoga class. Today I'm working with my webcam microphone. Hopefully you can hear me, but if not, it's okay too because I'm still doing yoga and the important part in any endeavor is that we try. I'd like us to start today laying down on our back, feet flat on the floor, knees bent, heels somewhat close to the hips, and we're going to start by imprinting our lower back. So try to flatten your lumbar spine down onto the floor. And then in opposition, let's arc it up so you can see the difference in the way that your pelvis rotates. One more time, we're going to flatten it back down to the floor, and you'll notice that you're kind of tucking your tailbone down to do this. In addition to that, though, I'd like you to think about your bottom 3 ribs and also imprinting the top portion of your lumbar spine at the same time. This kind of spinal alignment helps when we're standing, when we're sitting, when we're trying to balance. And it's easiest to find from this position on the floor. So now that we've learned how this feels by rocking back and forth between an arch and an imprint, come somewhat to a neutral place. We're going to start by crossing our right ankle on top of our left knee, and we're going to thread our hands in between the triangle that's made from our legs and grasp our thigh. Begin to pull your knee in towards your left shoulder, maintaining an imprinted spine, and use your right elbow to press into the middle of your right thigh. Take a deep breath in and release. Switching sides, our left ankle is going to cross over our right knee, spilling the left knee open, reaching our hands through to grasp behind our right thigh and pulling that knee towards our right shoulder. Thinking about that imprinted spine, pulling your shoulders back towards the ground, using your left elbow to help open out that left hip a little further. Releasing both feet on the floor, sink your hands out and down beside your hips, and again cross your right leg over your left knee in that figure 4. We're going to come into a figure 4 bridge pose by pressing into our left foot to lift our hips. Make sure not to look side to side because that would be bad for your neck. And then lower, switching sides. The left ankle is going to cross the right knee, letting that left knee spill open, pressing into the right foot, lifting into a figure 4 bridge. Taking a deep breath in, and a long breath out. Lowering our hips again. We're going to roll over to our right side and press ourselves up into a seated position. We're going to come into an open twist, so bring both of your arms first over your head, and then your left hand to your right knee, your right hand behind you. Sit up straight on an inhale, and then begin to turn your right shoulder open on your exhale. Pull your left hip back in opposition, and really think about twisting through your spine, more than just using your neck to look backwards. On an inhale, release out of it so you can get a little taller. And on an exhale, twist a little deeper. Coming back through center, arms overhead. Right hand is going to go to the left knee, left hand behind our back. We're going to sit as tall as we truly are. And then begin to turn the left shoulder back, anchoring through the right hip. Allowing your gaze to travel backwards, but really leading with the shoulder more than the neck. Coming back through center, we're going to take both of our arms out at shoulder height and rotate them all the way back from the top of the shoulders so that our thumbs go back. And then just turning the palms face down, I want you to flex your wrists and push the heels of your hands away from you. Really feel like you're spreading between your shoulder blades. Sink your shoulders away from your ears. Lift the crown of your head towards the sky. Take a deep breath in. And a long exhale out. Our left fingertips are going to come down towards the ground. Right palm flips up first and then comes up and over the head. Take a deep breath in and anchor your right hip, but stretch through your right fingertips. Maybe crawl your left fingers a little further away, bend the elbow. Now think about turning your gaze up and underneath that top right arm, opening that shoulder back slightly, and reach even further with the crown of your head and the tips of your fingers. But sink your shoulders away from your ears and anchor that right hip down. Lowering the right hand to the ground, we're going to slide across to the other side, bringing our left arm up and over our head, reaching through the fingertips, bending through that right elbow, anchoring through the left hip. Taking a deep breath in, looking up underneath our left arm, opening that shoulder back slightly, turning our chest towards the sky. And then the left hand's going to come down. And we're going to find ourselves in a seated position. From here, place your fingertips behind you and roll up onto your knees, gently allowing your hips to move forward. If it's comfortable on your neck, you can allow your head to go back, resting on the shelf made by the trapezius muscles. Taking a deep breath in, and then coming back down. We're going to switch the crossing of our legs, and we're going to go through that again. I've got my fingertips pointing towards the back wall, and I'm lifting up onto my knees, allowing my pelvis to shift forward. Maybe your gaze goes back as your head is resting comfortably. And then lowering back down. From here, we can rock up and over our knees, maybe scooting ourselves back. So we're in the middle of our mat, finding ourselves in a tabletop position. Tuck your toes and float your knees 2 to 3 inches off the floor. Take a deep breath in, and on an exhale, push yourself back with the heels of your hands so that your hips come towards your heels. And on an inhale, come forward and float your knees. Exhale, pushing back, stretching through the arms. Inhale, floating forward. Lowering your knees again. Take your right leg back, toes still on the floor for now. Press back through your heel and reach out through the crown of your head. Imagine you could pull your heart slightly through the gate of your arms and then creep your left fingertips forward. If balance is okay, you can lift your left arm and your right leg. Your hips are square towards the ground, so your back right toes should be pointed towards the ground at the moment. Foot flexed, reaching through the fingertips and the heels, the crown of the head, but sinking the shoulders away from the ears. On a deep breath in, lift everything up. And on an exhale, pull your elbow, nose, and knee together. Reaching out and long on an inhale. Elbow, knee, and nose together on the exhale. One more time, inhale. And this time, bend that back right foot so the sole of the foot is shining towards the sky. Then bring your knee, nose, and elbow together again. One more time, lifting your heel up and curling in. This time, when your heel comes up, maybe reach your left arm around to grab for the big toe side of your foot. If that connection is possible, press out of your right hand so that you're lifting up out of that rotator cuff. Allow your left shoulder to soften as you begin to kick your foot into your hand. Taking a deep breath in. And on an exhale, soften the engagement first. Release and come all the way back down to tabletop position. If you find that your knees are bothering you because you're on a hard surface, you can always fold your mat up underneath you to give your knee a little bit more support. So now the other side. The left toes are going to reach back and the right fingertips are going to crawl forward. We're going to lift both at the same time, reaching through the heel and the tips of the fingers. Taking a deep breath in, stretching in both directions, and then curling elbow, knee, and nose together. Reaching out, getting long, curling in. One more time like this. And then this time I want you to bend your knee. The sole of the foot shines towards the sky. And you're lifting up through the heel as you're also lifting up through the arm. And then we're going to bring it all together. It's almost like a cow belly, but in a bird dog stance. And this time, if balance allows, you can take your right hand back for the big toe side of your left foot, pushing out of the rotator cuff of the left arm, softening in the right shoulder. You can begin to kick your foot into your hand. Taking a long, slow inhale, staying for the exhale, and then softening the engagement before allowing your leg and your knee to come back down into a tabletop position. Now, I'd like to take a moment to focus on the placement of the hands. If you notice that your wrists are hurting and things like this, you have options, one of which is to do some things on your fists. Another is, instead of having your weight entirely over your hands, you can be slanted about an inch back in order to help relieve some of that pressure. Look at your wrist creases. I'd like for them to be pointed straight towards the front of the room, the front of your mat. This for me means that the center of the space between my index and middle finger is lining up with the center of my wrist. So I'm not leading with my middle finger and I'm not swayed out to the side. But I'm at a comfortable position with my hands spread wide that I can press down through all four corners of my hand, including the index finger mound. I tend to have a tendency of rolling towards the outside of my hands, so I'm trying to be more focused on utilizing the entire grip of my hands, even squeezing slightly with my fingertips. Now tuck your toes. Arms are a little wider than shoulder distance apart. We're going to go up into a very modified downward dog. So for right now, we're keeping our knees really bent. And you're going to pedal just your right heel towards the ground, pressing through the heel of your hands, and then bend that knee again. And then just your left heel towards the ground, bending that knee. So we're pressing into our hands, drawing our shoulders away from our ears, and our heads are reaching towards the heel of our hands. We're not dumping and losing the integrity of the spine. I'm a very good helper, Mr. Miyagi. And from here, we're going to start to send both of our heels down. Breathing deeply. Bend your elbows out towards the side first, and then squeeze them together like you could squeeze a beach ball between your elbows, broadening through the upper back, the back of your neck. And then press into the heels of your hands to lift your hips up and towards the sky. From here, take your right leg up. We're going to keep our hips closed for now, so that means the right toes are pointed down towards the ground, and maybe even lower that hip so that it gets in the same line with your left hip. This should increase the hamstring stretch on your left leg. Doesn't matter how high the heel is going, just that we're trying to lift it and keeping a closed hip. But press back through the heel, even as you press into your hands. And then bring your knee towards the top of your right shoulder. The top of your right tricep. Then your right leg goes back up towards the sky, and it comes in towards your nose in a high plank position. Right leg goes back up towards the sky. And this time it's going to come over to your left elbow. It's going to lengthen underneath your left arm, landing on the outside of your right foot, and then spinning down to the inside of your left foot. Your left hand can go up, stacking wrist, shoulder, shoulder, wrist, pressing up through the right hand to come out of that rotator cuff, lifting through the left hand, lifting your hips away from the ground. If it's comfortable, you can bring your arm over your head, lifting everything up, and then spiraling that hand back down to the mat, knee to nose, leg back up to the sky. This time we're going to open our hips, so point the toes towards the sky, bend your knee, stack your knee over your hip. And now think about squaring your shoulders back down towards the ground. In this way, we're using this opposing motion to help open our hip separately from our shoulders, allowing our body, our spines, our hips, to get the twist that's intended here. And then we're going to step that right leg forward, allow the left leg to follow, coming into our first forward fold. Now keep your knees really bent here, as bent as they need to be, so that your fingertips can touch the ground. It's very early in our practice, so we don't want to force our legs straight and make all of the flexibility come out of our inherently more flexible lumbar spine. Our head acts as a wonderful weight, lengthening the thoracic and cervical spine as I waste time by telling you guys all this wonderful information. But allow your body to open up slowly and naturally. Don't try to force it into any position. If it's comfortable, you can grab your big toes with your peace fingers, but never use the force of your arm to pull yourself into a forward fold. Because again, it's demanding that all that flexibility comes right away out of the most flexible part of your back, your lumbar spine. If you notice after yoga classes that you have a sore lower back, you may be pulling into your forward folds a little too vigorously. It's a great way to hold yourself on your threshold, but don't force yourself past it. As you start to loosen up, your knees may begin to straighten a little. Never lock your knees. Imagine you can lift and spread your sit bones. Then slowly crawling your hands up your legs, rolling your spine up vertebrae by vertebrae. Your head comes up last. Roll your shoulders up towards your ears, your shoulder blades back together on your back. Reach your fingertips towards the floor. Reach your crown of your head towards the sky. And then think about those bottom three ribs sucking back in, that tailbone rotating down, similar to how we imprinted on the floor at the beginning of this practice. Rock a little right and left. And then slow it until you can find the center between those two directions. And then rock your weight a little into your toes and your heels until you can find the center from front to back. Now feel all four corners of your feet rooted into the ground. Big toe mound, pinky toe mound, both sides of your heels. Lift and spread your toes and then set them back down. And while all of that is grounded, think about your arch lifting slightly towards the sky. This is a great foundation for balancing poses. So let's go ahead and try one before we move to the other side with some of the things that we were doing. Lift up just onto your right toes. Find a spot you can look at on the floor about the height of yourself distance away that's not moving. And then lift your knee towards your shoulder. If this is going well, you can use your hands to interlace around your knee. Pulling your knee up higher, but sink that hip back down so it's level with the left hip. Pull your shoulders back, reach the crown of your head towards the sky. It seems like it would be a simple pose, but there's so much going on here. You may be feeling your left ankle squiggly wiggling around, and that's great. It's building muscles, coordination. Don't judge yourself if balance is hard, because it's all part of the process. And the most fun part about it is after you've wiggled so much, you'll finally stick it. So we're going to lower that right knee and we're going to rock back and forth, finding all four corners of both of our feet again, lifting and spreading our toes, placing them back down, and then leaning our weight into our right foot, coming first onto the toes of our left leg, and then lifting that knee up. Your hands can come around the outside of your shin, pulling that knee up towards the left shoulder, but sinking that hip back down and in line with the right hip. Squeeze your inner thighs. Imagine the back of your head, the back of your shoulders, and the back of your pelvis were all lined up against a wall. From here, we're going to lower our left leg. Reach our hands first towards the sky, and then coming down through center, soft knees, coming into a forward fold. Halfway lift, fingertips on the shins. Reach out through your tailbone and the crown of your head. Sink your shoulders away from your ears. Crawl your heart through the gate of your arms. And then soften again into forward fold. Stepping right leg back first, then left leg, and lowering your knees for this first chaturanga. There's something very important about this pose that you should know right away, and that is that you don't want to be closed in on your shoulders when you start going down into this tricep push-up. Imagine you had a string running from your left shoulder to your right shoulder, and you're trying to not have any concave space in the collarbone between the string and your skin. So spread those shoulders wide. And then, with the eyes of your elbows pointed towards the front of the room so that your elbows can brace your ribs, you can lower yourself all the way down to the ground. Always use your knees until you can maintain that open shoulder position in order not to damage your rotator cuffs. Okay, buddy? So from here, we're going to come into Bhujangasana, baby cobra. Squeeze your elbows together and down your back. Reach your toes away from you and pull your heart through the gate of your arms. Lifting up, take a deep breath in, coming back down. We're going to do that again, but this time we're going to lift up and look over our right shoulder at our right foot. Coming back down on an exhale. One more time, this time we're going to look over our left shoulder at our left foot, coming back down, and then pressing up, first into tabletop, and then back into downward facing dog. So I like to have my feet 1 to 2 fist width distance apart. This is going to be somewhere in the range of hips distance, but you can have them as wide as you need to. I like to be far enough back that if I was to come forward, I would find myself set up for a high plank with my wrists under my shoulders and my toes tucked. So you can find where that distance is just by rocking yourself from downward dog into plank. Now pushing through the heels of our hands, we're going to wrap those elbows under to broaden our shoulder blades, reaching the crown of the head towards the heels of the hands, lifting up through our hips. Imagine someone was holding onto your hip creases and pulling them back. Then we're going to lift our left leg towards the sky. Our hips closed so our toes are pointing towards the ground, and maybe even lower that hip an inch or two so it's in line with the right. Feeling the stretch radiate up the back of the right leg. Breath in, and bring your left knee to your left tricep, and then back up towards the sky, heel reaches up and back, curl it in towards your nose, bring it back up towards the sky, and then over to your left elbow, straightening your left leg so that you land on the outside of the foot, and then rolling to the inside of your back right foot. Let the weight transfer into your left arm so that you can lift your right arm, stacking wrist, shoulder, shoulder, wrist. Press into your bottom left hand to lift out of your rotator cuff. Pull up through your top right hand. Feel your shoulder blades widening apart. Keep your head in line with the rest of your spine. Your gaze could be on the floor if you need it for balance, in line with your heart, or maybe up towards your top hand. If it's comfortable, you can reach that hand palm facing down over your head. Lift your hips away from the ground. Stretch from your back right foot through your top right fingers. Sink your shoulders away from your ears, but lift through the crown of your head. And then spiral that hand back down to mat, knee to chest, and then lifting that left leg back up. This time we're going to point the toe, open the hip, and allow our knee to bend so our heel falls behind us. And then we're going to rotate our shoulders back down towards the ground in opposition of that knee, opening up and out. Take a deep breath in. Feel how this changes your three-legged dog and where you feel these new sensations. This time our left foot is going to come forward first, followed by our right foot. Soft knees. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Squeeze your palms towards one another and raise your hands up and over your head. Allow the shoulder stretch to become a part of this. And only as much as you are comfortable at this stage in your practice, begin to work on your version of straighter legs. Lifting and spreading through the sit bones, feeling all four corners of your feet, but not feeling any sharp sensations in your lower back. The thing about that is that you may not always feel that you're doing damage while you're doing it. So be extra careful to be gentle with yourself in this pose. Our hands are going to come down to rest on our lower back, and this time we're going to come into a chair position. Imagine you're sitting on a low bench. Rotate your pelvis slightly to create a concave nature in your belly. Press both of your feet into the ground. Reach your fingertips away from you, but bring your shoulders away from your ears. Find strength and stability in this pose. And then pressing the ground away from yourself, coming up, finding ourselves in mountain. So let's do another balancing pose. Rocking a little side to side. Look at your toes, spread them wide, lift them up, and set them back down so that you have a wider base. We're going to rock first into our right foot this time. And we're going to open out our left knee to the left, coming up onto the toes. Now, if you're not familiar with the tree pose, this might be where you want to stay, beginning to find stability in the right leg. Find your point to focus on that's not moving. Think about that pelvic tilt to help stack and flatten your spine. If this is going well for you, put your right hand on your right hip and maybe use your left hand to grab the ankle and place that foot anywhere you want on your leg. It could be your shin, it could be your inner thigh, but definitely not on the outside of your knee. Squeeze those two places together as they meet. Find your center line. Think about keeping your hips even though the left one is opening out to the side. Your hands can stay at your hips, or they can find prayer position at your chest. If this is going well, you can grow your tree, maybe opening your middle three fingers. Wonderful, and then bring your hands back down towards your hips and your knee back out in front of you. Now we're going to go into a version of Warrior 3. So scissoring your legs together as though you could squeeze your inner thighs, allowing them to slide past one another, maintaining your center line. Begin to tick-tock your chest towards the floor, staring at an unmoving point and straightening that back leg. Imagine that you are pressing your foot into the wall. Your toes should be pointed towards the ground. A flexed foot helps me sometimes. And you can open your hands out to the side like you were a beautiful soaring airplane. From here, we're going to allow our fingertips to touch the ground, coming into a standing splits pose. Looking back, my back toes in the air first, and then finding that they are pointing down still, so my hips are closed. Now I'm going to look right underneath my nose in an unmoving spot. And I'm going to see if I can take my right hand to grasp the back of my right ankle. That might be enough. If you have it in you, you can also try to use your left hand. Whee! And the sound of falling is the sound of courage. Both fingertips on the floor now, bringing your left foot down, finding yourself in the forward fold. Halfway lift, crown of the head and tailbone reaching in opposite directions. Holding. And curling up, vertebrae by vertebrae. Rolling your shoulders up towards your ears, back together on your back and down. Fingertips stretching towards the floor. It's morning here, guys. So now, we're going to lift and spread those toes and place them back down again. And we're going to put our weight into our left foot. Lifting up onto our right toes and opening that knee out. Hands on the hips. This might be where you're staying, if this is where you are in your practice today. If you feel like you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, focus on an unmoving spot. Lifting your right knee, using your right hand to help place that foot anywhere on your leg that is not the knee. Squeezing those two pieces of your body together to help establish your center line. And then first bringing that right hand back onto the hip. It's okay if your ankle is wiggling. This is going to help us all stay healthy and avoid falls as we get older. Your hands can stay on your hips or they can come into your prayer position. You can stay there or you can begin to lift them over your head. If you want, you can open those middle 3 fingers. Breathing is important. Don't hold your breath. Then we're going to bring our hands back down and onto our hips if they're not there already. Our right knee is now going to close and come forward in front of us. And then we're going to do that scissoring action where it slides right past the left leg, squeezing our inner thighs as we begin to tilt our chest forward down towards the ground. Finding an unmoving spot just beneath our nose, reaching that right leg back. Our toes are pointed towards the floor, which is ensuring that our hips are closed, and our foot is flexed, imagining it was pressing into a wall behind us. Your hands can stay where they are, or they can come out into an airplane pose. And it's okay if you do anything in this pose except judge yourself. Good time. So now my fingertips have found their way to the ground of their own volition. And I'm first going to ensure that my right toes are pointed towards the ground still. My hips are even. I'm in a standing splits pose, lowering my torso down and over my leg. First, I'm going to take my left hand and try to cup the back of my left ankle, staring at that unmoving spot beneath my nose. This is totally a great place to stay. But if you'd like to, you can try your right hand too. And that's enough for me for today. So I'm going to bend that right knee, bend both knees as I come into a very relaxed forward fold. Link your elbows now in waterfall pose. Begin to straighten your legs only as much as is comfortable. And rock your whole body from side to side. Switching the interlace of your arms. And then fingertips towards the ground. We're going to do a halfway lift. You can also have them on your shins if you'd like. But eventually place them back down on the ground. And we are going to step our right foot back. We're going to turn our foot to the side and set up for Warrior Two. Your front heel should bisect the middle of your back arch. And we're going to windmill our right hand up first, and then our left hand. Now, your feet should be far enough apart that your knee does not go past your ankle. We're trying to make a right angle that does not exceed that ankle to protect the knee. If you find that you need to come in, you can tick-tock that back foot a little forward. If you find that you need more distance, you can tick-tock that back foot back. Now, take your left hand and help externally rotate your leg, pulling your knee a little to the side so that you can see the inside of your front foot. Press into the outside of your back foot to avoid buckling in that knee. Make sure you've got a strong and stable straight back leg. And you're rotating that one externally too, pressing your hips towards the long side of your mat. Then imagine that you had 2 counters that you could press your hands on. It's called grow through the crown of your head, even as you sink your shoulders away from your ears. Grow through both sides of your waist. And suck those bottom 3 ribs back in so that we're learning to maintain this straight and stable spine. Looking towards the front fingers. Now imagine 2 people had your arms and they were playing tug of war. Someone's pulling your front hand forward, your hips go back. And they pull your back hand back as your pelvis rotates slightly forward. And then one more time forward. And then this time when you go back, allow your back right hand to trail down your leg. Turn your left palm towards the back of the room, reaching your arm back, even as you sink into your front knee. Reverse warrior. You may feel a little pinch in the kidney. Shoulders away from the ears. Still maintaining strong and stable base. Bend that top left hand and cup the back of your head, leaning your head into it to add a shoulder stretch. Sinking again into that front knee, reaching up through your elbow and back. And then from here, we're going to come back first into warrior two. We're going to have that front wrist being pulled forward, and your arm can either come on top of your leg, or you can come down to the inside of your left foot. Right arm towards the sky in a bent side angle. Turn your palm towards the front of the room, and then stretch your fingertips over your head. Fingertips and back foot reaching in opposite directions, using the leverage of your left arm pressing on the inside of your knee to help open that knee towards the side. Now looking down towards your left hand, put your right hand on your hip. We're going to come into a half moon pose. So take your front left hand about a foot in front of your pinky toe, side of your foot, and then drag your back foot in a couple inches so that you can bend into the left leg and begin to lift the right. Your left arm should be underneath your shoulder. Your toes for this should be pointed towards the side of the room. We're stacking our hips in this pose. Keeping your gaze on the ground will lead for the most balance, but you can also look towards the side or even up towards the top hand as you lift it. That's going to be significantly more challenging. Open your hips and shoulders towards the right side of your room. Pressing back as though your foot press into a wall or floating leg. Pressing through your bottom leg. Trying to keep your head in line with the trajectory of the rest of your spine. Bending into the front standing leg as gracefully as you can. Lowering the back foot and coming into warrior two. Spiraling both hands towards the mat and stepping into a high plank pose. So wherever you are in your practice, knees up or down, we're going to come into a chaturanga, flipping one foot at a time, upward dog or baby cobra, broadening the chest, and then rolling up and over the toes, but flipping and adjusting your feet one at a time as needed to find yourself in downward facing dog. Take 3 deep breaths. Exhaling completely. Inhaling again. Exhaling, allowing all the thoughts to drain out of your head. Inhaling one more time. And this time, I'd like you to lift your right foot and step it forward between your hands. If it takes a couple steps, that's okay. We're going to rotate our back left heel down now and line up our front heel with either the back heel or the middle of the back arch. Going forward with our left hand first, windmilling up into warrior two. So again, from here we want to make sure that our knee is not exceeding our ankle. We want to use our right hand to help press it open so that we can see the inside of our front right foot. We're externally rotating both legs away from one another and pressing our hips towards the long side of the mat. Rotating your pelvis slightly down towards the floor and growing through both sides of the waist, but making sure not to arch those bottom 3 ribs out. We want to suck them back in. Pressing down into our imaginary countertops with our hands so that we can lift through the crown of our head even as we sink our shoulders away from our ears. Looking past the tip of your front fingers. Now imagining that someone was pulling you forward. Your hips go back. And your hips come back through center before that person's pulling your back arm back. Still keeping the integrity of the legs. Forward. Feeling how that changes the pelvic position. Back. One more time forward. This time as we go back, allow your left hand to trail down the back of your left leg, pressing into the outside of the foot to keep from buckling the knee. Turning your right palm towards the back side of the room and reaching those fingers back even as you sink into your front knee in a reverse warrior. Allow your right arm to bend and cup the back of your head, leaning the weight of your head into your hand to help add a shoulder stretch. Taking a deep breath in, reaching your elbow towards the back of the room, and on your exhale, softening your knee towards the front of the room. Coming back through center first, and then being pulled towards the front. You can either place your arm on the top of your thigh, or your right hand can go down on the inside of your right ankle. Not flattening or dumping into it. I like to stay bright on my fingertips, lifting up through my left hand. First coming straight up, stacking wrist, shoulder, shoulder, wrist, and then turning my palm towards the front of the room and reaching in a long, straight diagonal line from the tips of my fingers to the outside of my back left foot. Using my right arm to help leverage that knee so that it stays slightly open. And then bringing my left hand to my hip, looking down at the ground and placing my right hand to the outside of my right pinky toe, about a foot in front. Dragging my back left foot in a couple inches so that then I can begin to straighten my left leg and lift. Or I'm sorry, straighten my right leg and lift that back left leg up. My toes are pointing towards the side of the room. My foot is flexed as though I could press it into a wall behind me. I'm going to lift my top left arm, stacking wrist, shoulder, shoulder, wrist, but lifting up more than dumping down into the bottom hand. Staring at the floor gives you the most balance. If you want a little more challenge, you can stare to the side. If you want a lot more challenge, you can stare up at your top hand. From here, I'm going to soften that front knee, coming back into warrior two, and spiraling my hands down towards the ground, finding myself in high plank. Elbows, eyes of the elbows towards the front of the room so that it can brace my ribs as I lower myself all the way down this time, untucking my toes. Coming up onto my forearms, I'm going to measure the distance by using the right palm of my hand to touch the inside of my left arm. That's going to make my arms be pretty much shoulder distance apart. Reaching my toes away from myself, tucking as though there was a candle underneath my belly button. I didn't want it to burn me. And then pulling my heart through the gate of my arms in Sphinx pose. Now tuck your feet, tuck your toes again. First come up onto your knees, and then press up into a shape that's similar to downward facing dog, except for on our forearms. This is called dolphin pose. Looking slightly forward, and now there's a candle underneath your nose that you don't want to burn yourself. So you have to press into your forearms to lift up and out of your shoulders. Once you find that position, you can look back towards your toes. So you can stay here, building strength in the shoulders, or you can join me to lift your right leg. Toes pointed towards the ground, hips closed, heel going back towards the back wall. And lower. And you lift your left leg. And deep breath in. Lowering on the exhale. And then coming down onto your knees first. And finding yourself in Virasana. Guys, this is hot. This time I'd like to spread my knees wide, big toes touch. And again, my fingertips are going to come behind me, pointing towards the back wall. I'm going to lift my hips up and tuck my pelvis down. First, I'm just going to lean back and enjoy this stretch. And then, with that pelvic tilt, so that I can come to the inside of my heels, I'm going to begin to lower back. Now you can stay high up on your hands. You can come down onto your forearms, or press your knees away from yourself into the mat. This is more about a quad stretch than it is about a back bend. So don't worry about how low you go. Just make sure that you have that pelvic tilt and you're trying to press your knees into the mat. If your knees are coming off of the mat, you've probably gone down too far. If it's comfortable, your head can rest back on that shelf made by your trapezius muscles. Taking a deep breath in, lengthening your entire spine, and an exhale out. Pushing ourselves back up, crossing our ankles so that we can rock back and find ourselves in a seated position, and then bringing our legs out front. So use your hands to help remove some of the flesh from beneath your sits bones, and then take the heels of your hands and press them into the sides of your thighs. Lengthen from the root of your spine, your tailbone through the crown of your head, but sink your shoulders away from your ears. And now holding your legs in this position, begin begin to lean forward, only as far as you can. Doesn't matter how low you go. We're keeping our legs in a good position for this forward fold. And it can be kind of intense. But think about rooting your tailbone into the floor and then growing your spine long. It's about being longer, not lower. And now if that's feeling good, you can begin to walk your hands slightly forward, not dumping into this pose, but stretching longer. The way your torso should begin to lay itself down over your legs should start with your belly, then your chest, then your chin. You shouldn't be trying to put your nose in your knees if that's not where your spine is at this point in your practice. Then sitting back up, cross your right leg over top of your left. We're going to come into cow face pose. So we're going to put the outside of our right knee on top of the left knee. The outside of the foot is touching the floor. And this is half cow face pose. So again, growing through the spine, creeping your fingertips forward. This will be a hamstring stretch. If you can easily reach your foot, you can use that to hold yourself on your threshold and allow your breath to expand you from the inside out, which is what will help improve where your threshold is day after day. But please do not use the strength of your arms to pull yourself down. If this is going well, you can stay here. The other option would be to also bend that bottom left knee and try to sink both hips back down towards the ground. If you need extra support, you can slide a blanket, a block, or a bolster underneath your right hip. Sitting tall first, fingertips point towards the back wall, and I use that as leverage to help me lean forward. But I'm not curling my neck down, I'm continuing to have a nice long spine. And this can be pretty intense. The longer you sit here, the more you're going to feel this pose. And you can feel it in all sorts of places, from the outside of your hips to even my shin and calf on the top leg. So the outsides of both feet are down. They're basically making a T shape in front of me. Little by little, I'm allowing my slow and patient breath to relax my parasympathetic nervous system and let my hips know that it's okay to relax and release. Take a deep breath in. Long, slow exhale out. And your next breath in, unravel your legs. Send your feet to the distance of your mat and just windshield wiper your hips back and forth. Coming to the other side, we're going to stretch our right leg out first, and we're going to cross our left leg over top. The outside of the knee doing its best to stack on top of the right knee. It's really just below my knee on my shin where mine makes the connection. Front toes pointed straight up for now. Lengthen from the base of your spine through the crown of your head, and then begin to walk your fingertips forward in this half cow face pose. If your hands can easily reach your feet, and use them to hold you on your threshold, breathing in, inflating like a balloon, and softening on the exhale. Stay here, or you can sit back up first, bending your bottom right leg, and then both legs are coming out in a T-shaped position on the outsides of the feet. You can even start to encourage the tops of your feet towards the ground. Sliding something under your left hip if you need extra support. Sitting as tall as you truly are, rooting down with the tailbone, lifting through the crown of the head, sinking your shoulders away from your ears. And then begin to walk forward with that long spine. Not curling in, but getting longer and allowing our breath to do the work and unraveling our hips here. Each side of the body is going to be really different. Be patient with yourself. And don't try to force a pose if it's not what you're ready to do. Always feel free to modify anything to make yourself feel more comfortable during any practice that we share together. swallowing, relaxing your jaw. And then coming back out of it, slowly unraveling your legs. Feet hips distance apart, knees rock from side to side. Both feet coming forward, knees bent. Use your hands on the front of your shins to help lift your heart long and tall first. And then curl in, chin to chest, back round. One more time, let's lift and lengthen. Pulling our shoulders back. And then curling, chin to chest, back rounding. And then allow yourself to come down using core strength, vertebrae by vertebrae, until you find yourself down on your back on the floor. So we're going to revisit that figure 4 bridge, placing your right ankle on top of your left knee, letting your right knee spill towards the side. You can roll your shoulders up underneath yourself. If you'd like, your palms can face the floor to help give yourself a little more support as you press into your left foot, lifting your hips towards the sky, pulling your right knee down towards the ground. Take a deep breath in, making sure to keep your head straight, not looking side to side. And then lowering your hips, crossing your right leg over your left, pop your hips over to the right. Pull your knees in towards your chest and spread your arms out wide into a T position. Allow your knees to send down towards the left side of your mat. Lift your head and look over your right shoulder. Your left hand can assist your knees in twisting down towards the left. Sink your right shoulder down as though you had a sandbag on it. If this is intense, you can stack your knees or even stagger them. And the further you take them away from your chest, the less intense this stretch will be. Take a deep breath in, relaxing and letting it all go. Let go of any muscular effort in your legs. Sink your shoulder towards the ground. And soften. Coming back through center. Heels close to the glutes. Feet flat on the floor to start. I'm going to put my hands back down towards my hips, palms facing down. Roll my shoulders up underneath myself a little bit. I'm going to place my left ankle on top of my right knee, flexed foot in this figure 4 position. And then I'm going to press into my right foot to lift my hips and allow that left knee to still open down towards the floor, even as my hips lift up towards the sky. Lowering your hips back down, crossing your left leg over your right, pressing into your right foot to help hop your hips a little to the left. Arms go out wide, knees towards your chest, and then rolling down towards the right, adjusting as needed. If you need it to be a little less intense, stack your knees instead of crossing your legs. Lift your head and look over your left arm, and allow your right hand to help your knees descend down towards the right. Release all muscular effort in your legs. Sink your left shoulder towards the ground. Breathe deeply in this twist. Notice if you have thoughts that interfere with your practice. And then just notice them, but let them go. It happens to all of us. Interesting to see what we're thinking about that we don't know we're thinking about. Because those thoughts lead to actions. We want to be in control of what we're doing to the best of our ability, what we're thinking. Coming back out first. Sending your hands like an arrow between your knees to grab the outsides of your feet, and then pulling your knees down towards your armpits. rocking your tailbone back towards the ground, imprinting our back like we did at the beginning of practice. And we're pulling our shoulders towards the ground as well. Knees in towards the armpits. You can rock a little side to side. Realigning our spine after our twists. And then placing the soles of the feet together, allowing your knees to flop open towards the side. Supta Baddha Konasana. Beginning to prepare for Shavasana. Some would say it's the hardest pose. Stretching one leg out at a time. Maybe rocking your feet from side to side, getting all your wiggles out. Today I'm going to tuck my shoulder blades underneath myself to give my heart some support. I'm going to find the most comfortable place I can in the back of my head. I'm going to take a deep breath in and a long exhale out, letting everything go. Try to notice the sensations in your body. Feel if there's a breeze. Maybe you can feel that breeze in the bottom of your feet. Maybe you can imagine that that's your breath. That you can breathe all the way from the bottom of your feet up and into the crown of your head, and then all the way back to your entire body, washing and rinsing out anything you don't need. Allow your fingers to curl in towards your palms. Release control over your breath. Relax your forehead. Feel the weight of your eyes in their sockets. Swallow softly and release your jaw. Allow your head to feel the support of the floor so that you can release the back of your neck entirely. And then feel the weight of your internal organs, your heart, your digestive system. Feel how everything in your torso is supported so you can release that bit of tension between your shoulder blades. Feel how your pelvis rests easy. Your feet kind of flopped over towards the side. And now that you're here, relax your forehead. A sign that you might be thinking while in Shavasana is that your forehead will get pimply. So coming back to the part where you relax your face, relax your neck, and that space between your shoulder blades will help you to settle in. For just a minute, try to only think about the sensations in your body. You notice you have other thoughts? Let them go. And try again to focus just on this moment. flush from beneath your sits bones. Sit as tall as you truly are, crown of the head towards the sky. Shoulders, roll them up, back, and down onto your back and away from your ears. Maybe rub your hands up and down your thighs a little bit, waking yourself back up. I want to thank you all so much for encouraging me to film this practice. I'm glad to have shared it with you, and I can't wait to do more. I appreciate you all so much. Namaste.